I'm like super low energy today, and I really don't even want to be recording this, but it's just nagging at me if I don't record anything and don't try to make anything. So I am recording this now, and I wrote a script, but I feel like it's too um, emo or something. But I guess, well, no, I wrote like several. Um, but I guess, yeah. Okay, well, this one I wrote while I was thinking about not making anything, so I'll just start reading off that. So I keep thinking I should just give up on creating anything, give up on trying to create anything. I hear voices of people in the past saying I always give up on everything I start and that I'm lazy and crazy and that I'll amount to nothing. And it really weighs heavily on my heart. My friends tell me they believe I can be successful with this and want me to do more. And it's cringe to give up. And then I remember how much filth, brain rot, content is out there getting millions of views, or pseudo intellectual stuff, or pop psychology stuff. Like, everything isn't up to my standards, but I'm just thinking, okay, but I'm boring with this with this shit, right? And um I don't know how I can be so like serious and diligent and yet lazy at the same time, but it's that analysis paralysis thing, right? And really, I just want to get paid just for existing unmasked. Like, people be like, oh my god, you're so authentic, and give me money. Like, they give money to all these fake people, right? Why not me? And yeah, but I have to hide some sensitive information. Like, personally, I wouldn't care, but people are cutthroat out there, and that I have ops, and it's a delicate dance actually, because I want to just be authentic, is but I can't tell you all the juicy stories all the time, that I think would be quite entertaining. And lately, I just feel this nostalgic kind of deep sadness that I don't know, I was trying to like channel it though, but it's like when I was a kid, I was really sad all the time, but I wasn't allowed to say the reason why I was sad because you can't really ever talk about any serious problem that involves people being bad, or else, people don't want to face um, reality. And so when you say, "Hey, there's like evil going on here," they just think you're evil. You know what I mean? For pointing stuff out. You must be, creating the problem somehow. Even if you're a little child, they do this shit. And I feel like I was never a child. I don't ever remember being very childish, really, because I was just sad and angry. But my anger was like a joke to everyone. And I just wanted a beautiful prince to take me away. And when I realized that that was never gonna happen, I wanted to die. And, they'd say, you're just a privileged little white girl. What do you know about suffering? So, what if your parents make you want to kill yourself? Um, you're fed and clothed and sheltered, so you're probably even lying about them, right? And being an ungrateful child. And so, like, I was envious of kids with, like, the kind of suffering that's tangible enough for people to feel bad for them. So, like, I wished that I had dead parents, or that I was homeless, or had cancer, or some sort of thing. Like, because at least they were loved. The whole world sees them as victims and not as dirty and sinful little, like, you know they couldn't even hide their disgust for me, adults, when I was a kid. It's like I'm not even playing with you, like they really didn't like me. It was so many adults too, like, the few adults that didn't like immediately like give me a bad vibe and like hate me, seem like they hate me, were really rare. And it's cuz they could just smell it on me that I'm superior to them, and like I was judging them with some sort of righteous judgment. And I can see now, looking back, that adults were just like deeply triggered by me my entire life, my entire youth, and my very existence triggered them. My judgmental thoughts leaked out of my body, and I could feel their disgust for me too. Because other kids could behave so horribly, disrupting everyone's education, disrupting their lives, the education that's already at a super abysmal level. But even they were treated with such a fondness. Like they could be totally freaking worthless, these worthless fucking kids, right? All they do is make trouble. And even they're seen as like a victim. It's like, oh, well, there's stuff going on at home. But if you try to act as like not take out your, home life on other people, like, and just try to discuss it maturely, they're like, something's wrong with you. You know what I mean? And so, like, even when the bad kids were being corrected or punished, you could see the love that these teachers and adults in general had for them. And they would just like laugh it off. Or even if they were mad, they were like, I'm so frustrated because I care. I care about you. And it's like, because these kids give them the sense of importance and superiority that they craved so much, like they have a reason to exist because of these kids, and they get to feel like they're above these kids, so they love these kids. But all I had to do was like sit there with like a superior look on my face, like annoyed by the carnival around me, bored by the lack of intellectual stimulation, and just like judging everything and not complaining, just in my mind judging everything. And they hated me, and they hated me. They didn't hate the bad kids like they hated me. They didn't. Yeah. And I got this feeling from other kids too, but it's not as strong because we're all peers, we're on the same level, so it's not as triggering if someone's sitting there with a superiority. But when it's someone who's supposed to be lower ranking than you, people get triggered. you know a child is not allowed to be smarter than an adult. And it's really taboo to speak about the oppression of the elite, like the genetically gifted, whether it's looks or intelligence, but especially intelligence, and especially the non quantifiable type of like spiritual intelligence, like holistic intelligence, which I think is the true intelligence. The way we measure IQ is really flawed and promotes these mindless calculators over visionaries, over creative people, which is wrong. Because you get these mints of people that are just dorks, and they can't critically think about the world around them. Like they will just follow the crowd of these. They think they're being mavericks or whatever because they're like, I'm taking this kind of fringe opinion, but it's like you're still following this like package politics sort of thing, right? They can't. They just memorize and regurgitate. They're just way better at it than the dumber ones, and so that's how we measure. We're like, this has often been said, but it's just a measure of how good you are at memorizing and regurgitating stuff, which is just a small part of actual intelligence, right? And I don't think it's calculated. But if you're actually like a creative, visionary type person, like you'll be super hated. And if you don't have any sort of foundation of support as a child, like emotionally, like if your parents are fucked up at the same time, like you will just be the whipping boy of the entire freaking world growing up, and you'll blame yourself because you're too young to like, I mean, like, even in the back of your mind, if you know what's going on, it's still very confusing because you don't have enough life experience to truly fully appreciate how much you're being deceived and blamed for other people's failures. I'm talking really vague here and I'm going off script, but like, um, yeah, if you're truly intelligent in the holistic sense and not in the sense of being a robot calculator or a shallow puzzle solver, you if you have the courage to like look deep into the soul of humanity and all of its dark demonic parts, you will trigger everyone around you pretty much. And I think these are real electrical spasms in the brains that cause them pain, and they react by punishing you to defend themselves. And this is why, this is how the intellectual superiors are being oppressed by the freaking half-wits in this here society. And uh I don't know what we're going to do about this because it's really degenerative. And I think, I'm not saying, I'm not one of those people who's like, things are getting worse. It wasn't like this in the past. Like all these people who never seriously studied history are always like, it wasn't like this. Things were better about everything, and it's like, dude, crack a book because things were really bad all the time. And unless you go far back enough that it's some like peak of an ancient society, like peak of an ancient empire, and all the ancient art and philosophy and magical sciences were flourishing, and the schizophrenics had their respected place as the oracles and prophets and witches and such, then no, it wasn't better in the past. They did a lot of the same crap in the past. And this is why I roll my eyes when people are complaining about the internet and social media. Your activity on these platforms is almost completely voluntary, unless it's involved in your work and school stuff. And the wheat can be separated from the chaff in like what you're looking at, who you're associating with on this shit. Because I don't know how I would have ever connected with people on my same wavelength without it, or studied all these things that I wanted to study given my background and such, without the social media and the internet, right? And the only problem is all the freaking censorship that got really bad since like 8 years ago. People can rot their brains on anything they want, and especially intelligent people, to soothe the pain of all these triggerings of people around them. They get, and then they attack you, and they there's a lot of electricity going on, and they're like shocking you with their triggered snowflakes, right? No, they're just triggered half-wits. And mediocre. And so, people say, oh, the youth are rotting their brains on the, dude, the youth used to like drink heavy liquor like in the past after they clock out of their factory job. Okay, so let's calm down. um uh yeah, yeah, the real issue with got cut off there looking at my script. I said, people, no. The real issue with social media and the internet is all the censorship for the purpose of protecting a certain powerful minority and their lackeys, their political whores. And what is most demonized? Oh man, I went into like politically incorrect things, and I don't know if I want to get. I'm trying to not get censored on here. I'm trying to like do some kind of like make a cult, perhaps get some sugar daddies. um uh so okay, what's most demonized? What can't you support on the social media? I can't really talk about it that much. I'll be kind of vague, but eugenics. Okay. And this, because this ties back into the oppression of intelligent and good people, and I mean the real sense of intelligent, okay? The right of eugenic people to self-segregate and enfranchise their children, to pass the wealth down to give them special, to not have them be, it's all about bringing the shitty people up to the common denominator, creating this fucking, I shouldn't be cursing so much on YouTube. Why is it? And they say, oh, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's not how we should function, though. The dysfunctional wheel should be taken off and replaced. They're gonna say I'm like pro genocide if I post this. It's okay, my channel gets like 5 views. The squeaky wheel should be taken off and replaced. Why do you want shitty wheels? Why is it, and America is so bad for this, that you have to wonder, what enemy has done this? It's a matter of national security at this point, that, like, education and everything in our society is just about bringing up the shittiest people and ignoring any sort of talent, like the cultivation of talent of children who is seen as an expensive hobby that only rich people can engage in, and it's and all of these resources are just going towards denying the truth that some people are just fucking dumb. They're just too dumb. Why are you just let them do dumb stuff? And then at least segregate it, so okay, you'll bring everyone up, but why do I have to sit in a class with people who are like, it's like, are we even the same species? It's like, why am I sitting? Okay, I'll give you an example here that I put in the script, but I got in trouble one time in middle school, and they put me in, and okay, the trouble, what was it? I don't even remember. I think it was bullying, but it really was just giving people a taste of their own medicine. But I'm not a crybaby bitch, right? So when people are rude to me, I just like, I take it, and I take it because it's boring to me and I don't give a fuck. But like, my patience has its limits, and when I reach that limit, I can be very cruel with my words. I'm not a violent person, okay? But I say stuff, and I made this girl cry. I don't even know what I said to her. I don't even remember. But she's so, and goes to the teacher and like tattles on me. And that's like, this sort of shit is rewarded in this society. And it's like, dude, I'm just ranting here. But anyway, they put me in an in-school suspension. So I didn't it was the first time I did that. I was like, how is this even a punishment? You give me all the work that I have for the day that I would have had to space out in these classes with all of these monkeys around me, so I can just quietly finish my work without listening to these monkeys, without having to hear the teacher give stupid explanations when it's like I could just read the paper, right? They gave me all the work. I could finish the whole day's worth of work in an hour, and my homework, so when I go home I don't have to do that. And then the rest of the day I remember, because that day I was reading the Da Vinci Code. Dan Brown. And it's and I was like, and then I got in trouble again another time, and the assistant principal, this black lady, was like, I don't know what to do with you. What punishment do you want? Trying to be sassy, right? And I was like, yeah, can you give me that in-school suspensions? Because that was like the best school day of my life, And honestly, I was being a bit sarcastic. The screen light went off. But I wanted her as an educator, sorry, to see the problem here, to read between, not even between the lines. But I said, when I had that in-school suspension, I finished all my work in the day. It was nice and quiet. I finished it in an hour, right? I finished it all in an hour, and it was the most peaceful and productive school day of my life. I had so much free time to pursue my own education because no one's helping me here with that, right? And she said, "What is wrong with you? What's wrong with your system, bitch?" Like, seriously. It's anyway. What are my other notes? I said it makes no sense to demonize eugenics. Why wouldn't we want people? No, I'm serious. Why wouldn't we want people to be the most intelligent, beautiful, and healthy as they can possibly be? Why is it always about patching over the shitty parts instead of elevating the good parts? It, I'm aware of the arguments against eugenics. Oh, the racism. Oh, the brutal things done in the name of science. You can say that about anything, though. You look into the history of any intellectual pursuit, and I'm sorry, but until very recently, everyone was racist according to the definition of racism today, right? I mean, racism, when was that word even invented? 20th century, right? By communists, I think. And there's always racism and brutality in the past. So, like, we don't say psychology is evil, like maybe some super fundy Christians and religious people say psychology is evil, but as a society, we don't say psychology is evil because B.F. Skinner did this and that, but babies were subject to brutal experiments with isolation and stuff like this. We don't say epidemiology itself is evil because the Tuskegee syphilis study, which if you don't know, it's like these they pretty much let a bunch of black dudes die of syphilis without properly treating them, and I think they might have even injected them with syphilis. I don't even like to read stuff like that too much. It's like I already know what time it is, what these people do, and they do crazy crap all the time. They did a lot of brutal, crazy experiments, okay? And we don't just like throw the whole thing away. And they'll be like, oh, but they forced sterilization. The policies of this government is an effective forced sterilization of so much of the population. How many people out there want to have kids and they can't? And it's because of the exact problems I'm talking about, which would be solved with a eugenic mindset if our society, but the powerful minority that's censoring my words right now, the same ones, that's the irony here, the same ones who are castrating you and sterilizing you, the powerful minority in control. See, I'm gonna get this fucking channel banned. I shouldn't be saying powerful minority and shit. What else? It's like, that's the thing though. That's why I'm so pissed off, because it's like, you go on social media, what's the point? What's the point? Everyone's talking about everything except the things that actually freaking matter. You have to talk in codes. You can't talk about the number one political issue, and even if you do, you have to have the wrong opinion about it. You can't just get to anyone with the correct opinion is banned on everything. And I don't know what. It's like I don't know what to. I thought, okay, I'll do some hypnosis. Blah 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 blah. I have an interest in the hypnosis. I would like to, but I'm tired. I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of this shit. And and people think, okay, eugenics, that's just forced sterilizations, which, I mean, let's be honest here. Some forced sterilizations need to be happening. If you look at some of these evil old eugenics laws, and I'm not talking about these random, you'll see a case where a little 13-year-old black girl and they just took her and forced sterilized her. I've read shit like that. That's clearly wrong. I mean, that's a different time. But I mean, like, people with severe, like, disabilities and shit, yeah, like, I'm sorry, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with forced sterilization of that, right? Or serious criminals, and shit like this, you know. I can't even. You can't even talk. Like, you can't even talk about anything. Um, let's see. I have other notes. Let me look if I said anything good. Cause I thought, okay, I'll get all up in my feelings and do this hypnosis shit, and then I will create an army of people who they can get rid of their emotional problems, and supercharge my squad with this hypnosis stuff, and then they can. But dude, I'm like super low energy these days, and I just want to go off, and like I can't even talk about anything important, and it's fucking annoying. And even like I don't know the rules on YouTube, honestly. Like, can you say the F word? Can you say the S word? Like, it sounds so childish and dumb, like the F word. Like, I'm gonna be reiterating points because I'm looking back at my notes of things I said. I always thought about, as a kid, what a waste of resources it was. Okay, actually, this wasn't in the notes. I'll give you another example. One time I was sick, and my brother got my homework for me. And my older brother, he was 2 grades higher than me, right? He accidentally, his math homework was accidentally like in between some of the homework that he brought home from me. And I did his 2 grades higher math homework by myself. I turned it into my teacher. I didn't realize, I was like, wow, we really advanced in the last day that I wasn't there, right? And I was like 8 years old or 9. And anyway, so I turned it into the teacher, and she's like, "This isn't our class." And then and then she's like, "Oh, it's your brother's class." And then I went to give it, and his teacher looked at it, and she was like, "Oh, you got all the right answers." Just giggle. And it's like, as an educator, as an educator, how freaking irresponsible of you that if I was some freaking dumbass kid making a scene, I don't get it. I'm fucking retarded. I'm drooling. All of the resources, all of the government resources, super focused on me to make sure that I don't get left behind. But but a child who figured out 2 grades higher math homework by herself while sick, that's just giggle and forget about it. Like, that doesn't deserve any attention. Do you see how dysgenic this is as a society? And it's, what enemy did this? We already know. We're not allowed to say. We're not allowed to say. We're not allowed to say who did this. But it yeah. Think about it, though. Think about it. This is why we are a empire in descent. Okay, I went off script again. But I said, I always thought about what a waste of resources it was that the stupidest children get the most attention from government payroll educators. This is not how an empire in ascent would be functioning. It wasn't even an ego thing, but the adults would be insulted if I pointed it out, if I ever hinted at it. But for me, it wasn't even entirely about me. I was sincerely concerned that this was not the way society should be functioning. It's literally a matter of national defense. That's what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, dude, we're dying here. And then I get up in my feels again in the script. I say, but on a personal level, yeah, people really underestimate how much it hurts to be better than everyone else, like crabs in the bucket, and you're the turbo crab. And every time they pull you down, they break another limb, your shell cracks a bit, and the other crabs see your mangled body and laugh at you. That was my whole youth. And I don't care anymore if people think, oh, yeah, I'm not even. Look, do I think I'm the super biggest genius in the world? No. If my skills had been cultivated as a child, I would be a lot more impressive now, okay? But the torture of this, and among other things in my life, I've dealt with a lot of bad things in my life, okay? You have to numb yourself with various substances, okay, just to get through the fucking life this is, okay? I was literally suicidal. Um, so as I was writing, I said I was really into conspiracies, like since I was like 9 years old, yes, because I was blessed enough. See, and this is why I hate when people say, oh, the internet, the social media. Skill issue. Skill issue. Because I, thank God I had a computer and internet connection since I was a small child because my father was a computer programmer. So you can see he was, not normal. I don't want to be tacky. I don't talk to him. I was really into conspiracies and I could see the news was lying. So, seeing how even the adults were believing so many lies was really scary to me. Like being in the passenger seat while the driver is dozing off, but he won't wake up because he doesn't respect you anyway when you say, hey, wake up. And even if he does wake up, he won't thank you for it and he'll fall right back asleep in a minute or two. And if you try to take the wheel, he'll attack you and say you're unsafe and you're trying to get us all killed, you know? That would be a metaphor for how I felt as a child seeing all these adults being so brainwashed and you can't even just I was very polite. I wasn't one of those cringe like smart asses, you know what I mean? I wasn't like, hey, well actually, and then I have like no awareness of like basic etiquette or like life experience of, you know, how life can, be bad, so you can't focus, you can't, I don't know how to say it right now. And I'm getting a message, hold on. But you know those kids who like read a bunch of facts? This is what I'm talking about. The memorizing calculator people. And they don't know how the world works. And they never got their ass beat before. They've never seen anything like real happen. And then they're like, hey guys, listen to this. Blah, blah, blah. And, ooh, you know what I mean? I wasn't being like that. I was so like hinting at stuff like the example of the assistant principal, and I said that the in-school suspension was the best day of my life, and I was sincerely like trying to give her the chance to see that there's something wrong with the system, and then she said, what's wrong with you, you know? And I just went I didn't, if I was one of those smart assy kids, I would have started saying, well, lady, why don't you know? And I wasn't. And I knew that it was completely, that's why I mean that I could just sit there with the look on my face and they knew that they were being judged because I didn't even, if I was that smartassy kid, I wouldn't have been hated that much because they'd be like, okay, little mouth breather, and they'd feel superior because they would be superior in that sense. But I was already so cynical and so jaded, so realist. I wouldn't even say cynical and jaded because I still tried to have hope, by even mentioning this stuff a little bit, right? But I was just a realist already at that point, so they couldn't even have that one over me, right? And so, yeah. I just wanted to rant about this. Hold on. Okay, let me just read off my script because I was getting all emotional, but maybe you guys would relate to this. I would say things with sincerity and be mocked. Hold on. I didn't know why adults couldn't be sincere and and kids too, and I still don't understand this, like where's the humor in just like lying and smirking all the time? And it's not even like the funny like political satire type stuff, which I really like, but I mean just in daily life when that people will just like lie about shit. It reminds me of this story about Thomas Aquinas, right? Aquinas. And he was like his friends in school. Hold on. Sorry, I was like messaging someone. Anyway, so Thomas Aquinas, if you don't know, he's like this 12th, 13th century um theologian, and doctor of the Catholic Church, saint, and like credited with scholasticism, although there were others like um, anyway, so he was in school allegedly, and the other kids were like, "Look out the window! There's a flying cow. There's a cow flying through the sky or something." And he looked and he was like, "Well, where?" And they laughed at him, and um and he said, like doomer mode, he was like, "Yeah, I would rather believe that cows were flying than my friends were lying to me." And that's how I feel though. Like, I don't get how that sort of shit is funny. And it's such a low level of humor. And this is also how the stupid people oppress us. Because that's just fucking retarded. It's not, it takes no, like, creativity to be like that. And it's just, I hate it. And this is why I was so lonely as a child, just because I'm literally better than everyone else. Literally. Um, yeah. So, um, yeah, and as a kid, I had like a list of things in a journal that I found odious, and how the I just like that word, I wrote it, and how the adults treated me. And I wanted to remind myself as an adult to never do this to children, and I didn't keep that list because you know, it was a long time ago. And I was afraid that like something happens over time as you become an adult that like degenerates the mind and you like lose your empathy and your humility. But then I realized, no, these are the same people as these dumbass kids around me. They just have authority now, and they shouldn't have authority over me because I'm better than them. So I wrote it down so that I would remember, so that I didn't suffer the woke mind disease. No, I mean being turning into a dickwad when you're older. And like for example, my mother, when I was really little, I remember my mother saying it's bedtime. And I was just curious, like, okay, what time is it though? And I said, "What time is it?" And she was like, "It's time for bed." And I was like, "Yeah, I know it's time for bed. I accept this. I am moving towards the bed. I just want to know what's the actual time." Like, and she got mad and was just saying, "It's bedtime." Like, as if I'm disobeying. And I'm like, I'm literally not disobeying. I just would like to know, what is our time? I think even in my head, I was thinking, if I knew, got cut off there again because I'm retarded. I was even being extra responsible. I was even thinking, if I knew about what time bedtime is every day, then I could prepare for it beforehand. I could even make her job easier. I could even go by myself to my bed. That's all I want, you know? Why do adults why are they like, why can't they, you know? And they'll say, "Oh, this is because you have autism and it's the neurotypicals." I hate all this shit on social media about you have autism this, you have autism that. And I'm sure like some people in my audience will be like, "You have autism." Can we just, no. There's a difference between being autistic and just being intelligent and having some, childhood trauma that makes you a little bit crazy. Like, I'm not autistic. I'm just better than everyone. No, but I'm not even, I am. So, anyway, as I was saying, yeah, why not just answer my curiosity? Why do you not want to educate your own child? I'm sorry, Mom. I'm being tacky right now. But, I mean, like, I can see where she could come from with that attitude, like, now. But but my point is here that as a child, I was so critical in my head and judgmental, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's this whole non-judgmentalism thing, which is also another form of the stupid oppressing the elite. But I was so judgmental in my head, and that's why I've been through the battlefield. I've been like, I'm limping. I have I have my purple heart and shit. Um, Saving you guys. Um, as I was saying, yeah, why is curiosity as a child always seen as defiance? And then in school, they do this hypocritical thing saying, ooh, you gotta be curious and love to learn exactly what we want you to on our terms, on our schedule. And if you're 2 grades or more advanced than this level, well, fuck you, sit through it anyway. But yeah, let's foster your creativity, your curiosity, right? But when you have any sort of real question, they shut you down. And this, I think a lot of people will relate to this because I'm building an elite squad. So just going into my feelings about my entire life, nothing ever made sense as far as interpersonal relationships. And that's also because my father's a pervert. But I'm not going to talk about that. People were always angry at me out of nowhere. And, I've learned to deal with it now. And that's why I've somewhat learned to deal with it now. That's why I want to make a channel. I reach out to the younger folks and give something back. And to show you that I understand. And I made it out the other side, even with my battle scars, even as damaged goods. Yeah. So, yeah, people always made, like, I was always confused, and then people get super mad at me for no freaking reason all the time. And then when I actually had a reason to be angry, it's like people could be so rude and crazy to me, you know, but I wouldn't make a fuss about it. And then when I actually had a reason to be angry, I wasn't allowed to be angry about it. Then it's all like, oh, you need to accept. And even when I went to my absolute limit, I'm not just reacting. I am like righteously trying to correct, like mega responsibly trying to correct this evil that I am faced with for the sake of the greater society. They say, no, Jesus told us to forgive. No, he didn't actually. And even if you want to make it that he did, you're wrong. It's wrong. This whole God, people are so fucking passive. You're just cowards. You're just cowards. Yeah. And it's like you're not allowed to be angry. You're not even allowed to be indifferent. You have to love them. You have to love them. But what does love mean? They twist the meaning of love. That's not what love is. That's not what love is. To let people act like monkeys around you and never say anything about it. And never, you know what I mean? But I'm not encouraging people here. Listen, don't go around correcting people. Don't go around trying to inflict your justice willy-nilly because you're only going to get the hammer. It's not gonna work out for you. You gotta learn how to alchemize your anger. Like the ultimate goal is to inflict your justice and to put these monkeys in the cage where they belong, in fact. However, you can't just you need to be tactful about this because there's a powerful minority who is trying to castrate us all, uh, figuratively. And so yeah, nothing makes sense. And okay, like the fact that you can't even be indifferent. I don't want to talk, because I wrote these notes because it's like, yeah, I have a filter on because I don't want to do fancy makeup for the camera. Um, no, I'll say it though, because this is for the children. This is for the kids who are growing up in this world, disrespected, gaslit, right? If I just had a normal freaking look on my face, and I know this is what the adults did to me, but my mother is the only one who could like vocalize it to me as my mother, right? If I was just sitting there minding my P's and Q's with like resting bitch face, right? Just chilling, thinking about my various super sublime, lofty things in my mind, right? My mother would just, she would be like, why are you depressed? Why do you hate your life so much? What's, what? Like, what am I doing wrong? You know? And nothing. I was, until that point, I was totally fine, right? It's like my existence, sorry, my existence was some kind of complaint against her. She was taking it like that. And I had to put on a fake smile and be like, what are you talking about? I'm good. No, I'm totally fine. But but it's like a black magic, because like I was fine until then, but then when I had to put on this performance with her directing this anger at me that I didn't deserve, right? I felt like I wanted to die, but I had to be like, no, it's fine, I love you, you know? And it seriously made me want to kill myself. And, you know, and even now, like, I don't want to complain about my mother. I'm only allowed to have gratitude and contrition. Like these Christians want you to be like, look at what you did wrong. I didn't do anything wrong, actually. Fuck you. How about less of this? How about less of this? How is this working out for you guys? Being this pathetic. Yeah, get your shit in order. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this fake freaking, yeah, like Nietzsche said, the slave morality. I don't like it. And I'm gonna read more of my script thingy. I said, why do people think it's so insane for me to have feelings and express them with cryptic poetry like this? This isn't really cryptic poetry. I had some, but I'm not in the mood for that right now, as you can see. And no, one time, yeah, I was with this group of kids, uh, high school, and in some gated neighborhood. Like, I didn't live in one, but it was one of the kids. And like, I usually didn't even go out with people. I was kind of a loner, you know. Anyway, a police pulled us over for some reason or another. Was looking through everyone's bags, and look, this police woman searched my bag, and I had this notebook with my crazy lunatic poetry, right, written in it, and it's just drafts of stuff. And she's like, she literally looked around and said, who's the lunatic who wrote this? And she looked so disgusted at it. And but wait a minute here. The real question is, what kind of lunatic woman becomes a police officer? Okay? I mean, really think about it. And I thought I was damaged. You think I'm damaged writing this stuff? Like, not to get political here, but when you see a policewoman and you ponder, what kind of life choices lead to this? What kind of internal dialogue lead to the life choices that lead to this? Does it seem sane to you? Like, most criminals are men, and I wouldn't even want to rough and tumble with non-criminal men, let alone the criminal ones, who are usually young. They're on the younger side, they're on the buffer side, right? And I don't think policewoman existed in Freud's time, but if they did, he'd really be having a ball with that one, because what the fuck? Seriously. So and this is what I mean, the oppression of the superior by the inferior. Okay? Psychoanalyze that. And but my lesson to the younger kids, hold on. Because there's a lot of this narcissism, blah blah stuff out there on the social medias, and a lot of namby-pamby, freaking low energy, like victim, woke slow snowflake stuff out there, right? But and then they'll say, oh, it's a narcissist and they're projecting, the psycho. But I'm sick of it at this point. But still, the lesson is you can't really take what people are saying that seriously, and you gotta look at them for real and be like, who the fuck are you? And stick in that. And it's harder to do that when you're younger because you don't have any accomplishments to show for yourself either. But I mean, because you could say, okay, you're a high school teacher. Who the fuck are you, right? But are you even going to be anything better than a high school teacher? But at the point you're a high school student, I'm sorry, but the general level of high school teachers at this point, because the system is so rotted that any, intelligent and good person can't stand to remain in that environment, is really lowly. So, and you still have your youth and you still have your, you know, so you gotta really look at these people, and in one sense you don't respect them, and in the other sense that is the only path to discovering but to respecting them. This forcing yourself in this Christian sense, in this slave morality, forcing yourself to lie, to deceive yourself into being like, I don't know, but there's this like kind of fake respect. You force yourself to have a sort of benefit of the doubt or whatever, and blah blah blah. That's not a true respect. Though the true respect actually involves seeing that everyone is a piece of shit, including yourself. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm here saying that I'm the best and I'm better than people, because it's a confession, right? I think confession is something that's very much forgotten, and people can't be honest. All they do is humble brag and shit. Unlike me, because I'm awesome. Okay, I'll read more of the script. I once met a policewoman who didn't know what a meteor shower was. True story. Like, I was going with my brother to a park at night because there is a meteor shower and it was locked. And, he drove there. Well, because he's driving this freaking old, like, 80s Saab with paint, like not even proper car paint. This redneck, my brother, painted it with actual paint and put like racer stripes and shit. These, like, he had this super redneck car, and we go to the kind of nicer neighborhood, and the gate's locked on the park, and so we're trying to turn around, and she thinks that I'm being kidnapped or something. And anyway, so we're like, no, we're here to, it's my brother, and she's like, what is a meteor shower? What the heck is that? And it's like, and these are the people enforcing the law, in this society. And so, and then I was saying, has it always been this bad? Yeah, probably. But people don't want to think the past was bad, but it was. In some aspects, it was worse. It was better in some. But I'm sick of the whole historical illiteracy. I'm just on a total rant. Always to push some talking points of their packaged politics. If that political channel you watch on YouTube or whatever were giving you any kind of accurate or relevant information instead of sapping your energy, spinning you in emotional circles, that channel would have been censored yesterday. Okay? 100% facts. Like, sure, you can check in about current events on a wide variety of non-censored channels and blogs and mainstream sources, right? But if you find yourself ideologically, spiritually aligning with them, getting on board with their like movement, it might be correct technically, on some things, but it doesn't ever name the real center of power. Any movement that actually attacks the source of power is not allowed to exist in the open. Okay? So remember that. And this is why you gotta be clever. You gotta not fall into there. If you're clever and you see something's wrong with the world, and you don't get sucked into these freaking neocon, like these trad cons, or it's a dead end. And it's a dead end, and these bastards are telling you to get into the trades and get into plumbing and be an electrician and stuff. They're telling their viewers who care about politics to be a plumber. There's nothing wrong with being a plumber. You can make good money being a plumber. But why are they telling kids who have a proclivity to political stuff and legal stuff to not pursue that, to not pursue their actual passion? It, 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 what enemy is doing this? You really have to think about it, okay? Because what you need to do is to go to get into politics, actually get into legislation, okay? Don't fall for this shit. They're trying to keep you down and keep you as a you know, beta orbiter that funds them and funds their. I don't want to get censored. So you'll know that you're on the right track if you ask ChatGPT and it says, I cannot continue this discussion without you ever advocating for violence or insulting any group. When you submit a path for peace, a path for prevention of conflict, you can use the analogy of an alien planet with various alien nation states and ethnic groups and a certain powerful alien minority, and make it sound like a sci-fi, everything you're observing happening in real life. And then you can ask ChatGPT, you know, in this situation, what is ethical? And then it'll tell you the truth. But if you relate it to like the actual real world groups, it'll say that goes against the respectful guidelines of blah blah blah, right? This is baby stuff. I mean, so you can really find out about what the most important issues are, and most importantly what the solutions are, because the chatbot sorry because the chatbots aren't allowed to chat about them, right? And the YouTubers aren't allowed to discuss them, and like without advocating violence. And so like, okay, for example, I did that thing with the alien planet ChatGPT, and I just told ChatGPT what's going on in the real world, right? And ChatGPT said, did I even say this correctly? ChatGPT said, this hypothetical scenario describes a dystopian system of manipulation, censorship, and control that raises profound ethical questions about freedom, sovereignty, and power dynamics. The system described is not just unethical, it is unsustainable and ripe for eventual collapse. And I couldn't have said it better myself, ChatGPT. Yeah. So, anyway, yeah, I guess that's enough ranting for today. I don't know what the limit is. That's the thing, because I cursed a lot on here and I like hinted at a lot of stuff that you're not supposed to talk about, but I don't know what's the limit, because people are getting tired of the woke snowflakes and it's the Trump and blah blah blah. But you're not allowed to say things still. Um, I'm not a hater, okay? I am a hater. I am. I am a hater, actually. Let's cheers to hatred and okay. Good night.